We have a fun presentation to you today. We have Ashley Enger, and she's going to talk to us about MobileConnect with Salesforce Marketing Cloud. We want you to please ask any questions you have, but we're going to save all questions for the end of the presentation. So take it away, Ashley.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amber. So hey there, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Ashley Enger. I currently work in marketing operations, but in a previous life, I lived for Marketing Cloud shortcode enablements. So I'm really excited to share with you all today during our quick chat, expanding cross-channel marketing with MobileConnect. But before we get started, full disclosure, anything stated in this presentation is not to be taken as legal advice. I am not a lawyer, just a really passionate and process-driven Marketing Cloud MobileConnect shortcode lover, and I just want to talk about something I enjoy. So make sure that anything that you're submitting, you do run by your legal department for official approvals. Also, being tech marketers, keep in mind what I share today could change at any minute because, tech. So what's on our agenda for today? If you're a partner looking to grow in shortcode enablements or a Marketing Cloud user looking to add mobile messaging to your channel mix, you're in the right spot. We'll talk about what mobile messaging is, Marketing Cloud's MobileConnect, key considerations, the enablement process, and ideas to incorporate SMS into your marketing plan. But before we dive in, I just want to do a quick level set. So during our time together today, you may hear some terms you're not familiar with. So I want to call out a few key ones here, so that way I'll give you a minute to take a look at the list, but some big ones to note are keywords. And that's typically words that you text in from your mobile phone to opt in, opt out, or to seek help. Aggregators are our friends who connect us with carriers for reviews and approvals. And then carriers are tiered mobile providers like AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, etc. All right, so what is mobile messaging? I'm so glad you asked. It's basically what it sounds like. It's a message from a mobile phone or device. So there are a variety of options and tools out there that we won't touch on today just due to timing, but I'll be speaking primarily based on my experience with enabling US shortcodes for SMS and MMS today. So we won't be covering migrations today either, which can kind of be a beast of their own. So just for starters, SMS stands for Short Messaging Service. And with a max character count of 160, it's definitely short, right? Especially compared to our email. MMS is multimedia messaging service, and this can include photos, GIFs, memes, and any visuals like that. So MMS is only available in the United States and only with tier 1 carriers. So AKA those big carrier names. Short codes are those 5 or 6 digit numbers that you receive promotional texts from. If you're like me, I sign up for everything, so I get a lot of those pretty often. You do have the option to purchase a vanity code instead of being assigned a random 5-digit number. So although there is an extra cost to that, some businesses do find it helpful so they can stay on brand. So for example, if I'm a marketer and I'm working for a candy shop, for instance, instead of a random 5-digit code, I may choose the numbers that align with the word candy. So it's a little bit easier to remember, so it stays on brand. And there is a website to be able to check availability of those codes because you can't have 2 people with the same code, right? So you may have your heart set on candy and you may have to go with muffin or something instead. But it's also important to note that shared codes are no longer available in the US. And this is a big thing to note because previously many clients that I'd work with assumed that they'd be using a shared code. The difference is that if another company is sending spam and someone opts out using one of the global opt-out words like stop, it's going to remove them from your audience as well. Messy, messy stuff, so we don't do that anymore. All right. And since we're talking about shortcodes and MobileConnect specifically, I did want to provide just a little visual of what that looks like also. So although you may see Mobile Studio in your Marketing Cloud menu bar with the drop down to MobileConnect and Mobile Push and a few other things, keep in mind that there is that additional purchase. So you'll want to connect with your Salesforce account executive to provision your new code onto your account. So taking it from the top picture, we've got the Create Messages screen. So this is a very, very simple walkthrough process that creates messages for you to send. And there are even templates included, pending whether you plan to send SMS, MMS, or both. So you'll want to know prior to setting up your code if you plan to send to one or the other or both. Typically, I just enable for both, so that way the client always has the option to send MMS down the road, even if they don't have a plan for it yet. Or if you don't set it up now, you'll have to go through the lengthy enablement process again, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But we definitely don't want to duplicate efforts, right? So in MobileConnect, there are two tabs, the Overview tab and the Administration tab. So the middle snapshot here is the Overview tab, and this shows message stats, keyword stats, mobile opt-in, contact count, and this is the tab that you'd go to create your message. You can see up in the top a little bit. I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but up in the top there is a spot for Create Message. The bottom snapshot is of the Administration tab, and this is where you'd set up your keywords, your from name, your blackout times, and any bounce logic and things like that. So as you can see, the tool itself isn't terribly overwhelming. It's pretty user-friendly. All right. So you've got the tool, you have the interest in adding another channel. What are some things that you should be considering? These are my three favorite, and I get really excited talking about them. Compliance. So just like with emails, you're required to collect opt-ins and manage your opt-outs respectfully. The first way to do so is to determine how you'll be collecting those opt-ins. So that's typically done with a keyword, but there are a variety of other ways to do it as well. So thinking back, have you seen a commercial that says text sale to 12345 for discounts delivered directly to your phone? That would be an example of an opt-in. So when you text sale to 12345 or whatever that short code is, you're opting into their messaging. Opt-outs can be done with a keyword also, stop being a global opt-out, and there's unsubscribe and a handful of others as well. Many of the clients that I work with like to create a single place to manage all of those subscriptions and preferences though. So often you'll see custom preference centers built into Marketing Cloud's cloud pages for this purpose. So in addition to your email preferences that you're already housing there, you can toggle on or off messaging preferences as well. There is a lot of fancy tech and automation on the back end to feed those preferences back to a table or data extension and update appropriate fields. So you may want to have someone on hand who can either develop that, or if you're working with a partner, be sure to ask about adding that in addition to the enablement cost. And all of this will need to be thought out prior to submitting your campaign application form, which is the form that gets you complete and it gets approved to allow you to send from your shortcode. So you'll also want to make sure that you have the appropriate legal language on your terms and conditions page for SMS, as well as updating your privacy policy to address any information obtained for or through SMS. Those are two very, very, very big pieces that sometimes hold up the process, which is already a little lengthy. So calling those out in the beginning of your agreement or of your engagement or enablement is really important to give you time to make sure you're meeting with legal to determine everything is on point. The second one is data management, and this is such a big one. So data is at the center of everything that we do. So we want to make sure that we're formatting our existing mobile numbers in a way that's consistent. There are some guidelines there that I'll see if I can find an article and drop it in as well. But you may also want to determine what a mobile number is versus a landline, because landlines do still exist and people do still fill out forms and use them. But we can't send SMS messages to landlines. So if you've got a way to determine between those two, you may want to call that out as well. Also be sure to do some data cleanup either in-house or with the partner. So you'll want to make sure that your contacts are matched to the correct mobile phone. One of the gotchas when using MobileConnect is that phone numbers aren't automatically paired with a contact. So they'll create a new contact and a new contact key. So this can cause contact count overages, subscriber key issues, all kinds of things. So we want to make sure our data is as clean as possible and we've got a plan to manage it. If you're struggling with this, I highly suggest working with your account executive and customer success team to help guide you through the data management. I had a wonderful experience when I was on the user side, and it really brought clarity to leadership on our numbers, prevented unexpected contact count overages, and it's also really important to understand your contract's super message limit. So I linked it in the deck because we won't have time to talk about it too in depth, but really being able to understand what you have available to you and how best you can spend that is helpful from a strategic marketing and financial perspective. We want to avoid overages and things like that that are unplanned for sure. And then last but not least is internal guidelines. And mobile messaging is an intimate communication method. So with great power comes great responsibility, right? So be sure that your company is aligned on how this channel will be used. Is it for marketing team to promote sales or events? Is it for the billing team to send out reminders to members that dues are coming soon? Is it for the sales team to cross-sell or upsell additional tools or services? By determining all of this in advance, you're kind of setting that standard, and you'll be able to ensure that your audience isn't being oversaturated with texts and only receiving those most important communications directly to their cell phone. So you'll also want to be sure that there's an owner of sorts to the tool, and that you establish consistency with process documentation. So some things to consider would be, will you be sending individual SMSs using a single send journey or just one-off batch sends? What are the pros and cons to each of those for your business? What reporting do you need? There are a few reports that are pretty much out of the box. And then obviously, if you know SQL, you can really dig down deeper. And then also, how does all of this fit into your marketing and business strategy? Because everything we're adding on, we have to be able to justify from a cost perspective. So I did ask the Ohana last week for some thoughts and considerations as well. And here's what a few of the experts had to say. So Aman called out two important things that we've touched on. Analytics and send information for SMS sends don't get pushed to Salesforce automatically. So we would want to consider a recurring automation. And he called out that the difference in SMS multipliers for different countries varies, and that ties to our super message consumption. So two things that we definitely want to plan for. And then Alex also called out two big considerations we chatted about: phone number data formatting and consent management, which are both huge. All right, so now you know you want to move forward and add SMS as a channel, but what next? So we'll talk about the enablement process at a high level, which is my absolute fave. First, you'll need to contact your account executive from Salesforce to purchase a shortcode if you don't have one already. So they may recommend professional services or an enablement partner to support you on this journey. Only a handful of Salesforce partners are able to provide this service. So I do have that linked in the resource box in a few slides, a list of those partners that are available. But once you connect with a partner, they'll walk you through the rest of the steps, which begin with submitting a shortcode reservation form back to Salesforce. And this is the form that determines your 5-digit shortcode or confirms your selected vanity code to make sure it's available. And it typically takes about 3 days to hear back from them until you're officially assigned your shortcode or have confirmation. After you have your code, you'll work with your partner to submit your campaign application form, or CAF for short. And this can feel like a massive undertaking. So I've created a workbook linked in the MobileConnect toolbox at the end of the step that'll walk you through the process a little bit. This will be a great starting tool for partners to use as a baseline to create their own documentation, or a great tool for marketers to use as they're planning in advance and making sure they're collecting the appropriate information they need while they're working with their partner. So this usually takes a bit of back and forth between the company and the partner, and I do like to schedule a 30-minute call to just review everything together after it's been completed and before it's submitted to make sure everything is aligned, we've got sign off, and everyone is clear on the meaning of everything. So once that's submitted to the aggregators, our dear friends, they may ask a few clarifying questions or request some additional information, which is totally fine. Don't panic. They use this additional information to communicate on your behalf with the carriers. So the aggregators will update the status on your CAF form request, and then that signals that it's time to confirm. Actually, it signals that it's time to request your shortcode be provisioned in your Marketing Cloud account by Salesforce. So be sure that you let them know whether it's SMS or MMS or both. It's really important to call that out because it does make a difference in your provisioning in your account. And then once you can see your 5-digit code in MobileConnect, you can start setting up your keywords and messages. Your partner may do this for you as well. But you'll have to set up your standard help and stop keywords, as well as your chosen opt-in keyword. And then all of the messages that the contact will receive if they text those keywords in from their phones. So this is also important because the aggregators and carriers test each of these keywords to confirm that they're set up correctly before they can approve you to move forward. Also, there may be a few weeks of silence from the carriers during this time. From what I understand, your code falls into a queue with the carriers, and it's in process for them to test and approve, but it's a little bit of a secret box of the unknown since only the aggregators speak to the carriers directly. But once it's been tested and approved by the carriers, though, your aggregator will let you know, update the status that you're ready, and then it's time for internal testing, and then you can go live. For internal testing, I'm sure there are a variety of ways to do it. One of the simpler ways is just finding someone on the team who has each of the carriers and having them text in the text in the keywords to the short code and make sure that they're getting the appropriate responses back. It's not a short process. It varies quite a bit. So I do have the average times listed in that little chart below. Typically, I would say total process is probably 8 to 12 weeks on average, though. There are definitely times where the carriers are busier or they have like a freeze or a hold. So just be aware of those as well. All right, and then here's a little sneak peek of the shortcode enablement workbook that I mentioned a minute ago. So inside here, you'll find descriptions of the asks, along with the examples and templates to get you started and on the right track. I did link the CTIA handbook, which is an awesome reference for compliance and really important to read especially if you're on the partner side to help guide your clients the right way. And a character counter I use to confirm all of my messages are less than 160 characters because I don't have time to count all my characters for every message that I send out. So it's just a really simple free tool. Oh. Okay. Well, there we go. Apparently got a sneak peek of the actual doc as well in there. So according to Crowd Multiplier, 95% of messages are opened within 3 minutes. SMS delivered coupons have a 10 times higher redemption rate. 75% of consumers are okay with receiving SMS from brands after they've opted in. And it's not just for large businesses. I know that seems to be an assumption, but consumers have trust in local businesses. So they're actually 21% more likely to opt in to text promotions from local businesses. I do love a good stat. All right, so if you're using SMS currently, I would love to hear in chat how you're using it. It doesn't have to be MobileConnect specifically, but just to throw some ideas out to the crowd as well. There are a number of ways to incorporate it into your business and your plans. So you can be sending out promotions, think the upcoming holiday sales that are just right around the corner, adding them in a journey for transactional messaging or triggered sends, or events and alerts and notes. I've seen them obviously for the coupon purpose or for announcing new products and new deals, but also as appointment reminders. Healthcare has used it a lot for appointment reminders, confirmation on things. Severe weather alerts is another use for them. Any notices or events or anything like that, all good use cases for them. Okay, and then you all know I'm big on resources. So I did put together a list of my favorites in the MobileConnect toolbox. So we've got a workbook for you to download, a list of the approved enablement partners that we talked about earlier. And here's also a few awesome help articles that are just really clear from the Salesforce help area. The SMS Trailhead module, this is such a good resource. It's amazing. Highly, highly, highly recommend. It will walk you through the entire process in great detail. And a guide for sending in the US. All right, and then before we end, I did want to take a moment to thank Marjorie and sponsors as well. So thank you to all of you. And then if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll answer what I can in our remaining time. But if anything else comes to mind, or if you're looking through the workbook and have questions, you can find my LinkedIn and Twitter on here. So feel free to ask me any questions there. Happy to hop on a call and chat through some fun things. And again, thank you so much for joining me today to learn a little bit about SMS and MobileConnect.
Thank you, Ashley. That was really helpful. We do have 2 questions from the audience. The first question is from Troy, and it is, how does MobileConnect compare to Mowgli?
I don't have any experience with Mowgli, so I would be not the right person to answer that question. I know there are a ton of tools out there. I've really primarily been focused on MobileConnect.
Thank you. And we have one more question from Douglas Bennett. It is, what data view do we query to make sure someone is still opted in?
I'm not going to be much help on this one either, Douglas. So I did work with a team of people who are far more technical than I am to do all of the querying to make sure that we've got the right tables and we've developed the right compliance things on the back end. I would say that in some of the articles and the links that I dropped in, there are some really good resources that talk a little bit more about queries and views, as well as an article from Salesforce Ben that comes top of mind that I think has a little bit more technical perspective on it as well.
Perfect. All right, so that's the end of our session. I just wanted to remind everybody, today is the big day for the Marjorie After Party. So if you haven't already signed up for the after party, I'm going to drop a link in here so you can get signed up. Should be a fun time. We're going to be announcing the winners of the Marjorie Awards there and playing some pop culture trivia. So thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your Marjorie day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.